So there's this method called completing the square. I'm not quite sure if you guys have exactly learned it before, but what we want to do is it's called completing the square. So you're going to make a perfect square appear in your equation. That's what we're going to be doing. So I'll show you guys the process for it. And if my example isn't super helpful for you, there's also the watching help video, and there's also the example problem. So I just want to remind you of that, okay? All right, so when you're first completing the square, I want you to focus in on these two. We're going to ignore the minus 40. Hold on. Let's wait for my image to broadcast because it's lagging. Okay, it's really lagging. All right, there we go. So I want you to focus on the x squared plus 6x. And we're going to ignore the minus 40. We're just going to deal with that later. Okay? All right, so then, there we go, change it to the pen. So what we're going to do is take this 6, it's a positive 6, and think to yourself, what is half of 6? Half of 6, let me write that out. Half of 6 is 3, right? And you're thinking, why is she even caring what half of 6 is? Well, you'll see the process at the end. So half of 6 is 3, and then think to yourself, what is 3 squared? 3 squared is 9, okay? So what are we going to do with that 9? We're going to add it to the equation. So we have x squared plus 6x plus 9. So what I just did was I took this 9 and I just shoved it right there because we're going to use it to help us complete the square. Minus 40 equals, originally we had a 0, but since I added something to the left side of the equation, in order to make it still the same equation, I also must add it to the right side. Okay? Any questions so far? Okay. So if you do have a question, feel free to interrupt me. What we're going to do now is we're going to focus on, I guess I'll use green to underline this whole part. We're going to focus on the x squared plus 6x plus 9. I'm going to write on the bottom here because that's where I have space. But x squared plus 6x plus 9 is actually x plus 3 squared. And where did I get that 3 from? Well, I mean, if you were to FOIL x plus 3 squared, you would get x squared plus 6x plus 9. But another thing that we wrote earlier was half of 6 is 3. Remember that? 3? I said half of 6 is 3. That 3 is the thing that appears here. Okay? So x plus 3 squared, and then we have minus 40 equals 9. So the green part on the top that I underlined turned into the green part on the bottom that I underlined. So I know completing the square has always been confusing for students in like my class and the other class last year, many years. So do you guys have any questions up till now? Okay, make sure you do interrupt me if you do have questions, okay? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to scroll out so that I find more space because I really don't have space there. And I'm just going to recopy it so we can work with it more. So we have x plus 3 squared minus 40 equals 9. So we want to solve the equation for the x values. So what we want to do is add 40 to both sides. We're trying to get x by itself. When you solve for x, you want x by itself. So you get x plus 3 squared equals 49. And then, to get x even more by itself, we have to square root everything, because we need to get rid of the squared. So we have x plus 3 equals plus or minus 7. Because remember, if you square root 49, you can get a positive 7 or you can get a negative 7. Do you guys have any questions up till here? Okay. So let me rewrite this into two sections. You can have your x plus 3 equals positive 7, or you can have your x plus 3 equals negative 7. Let me wait for that to stop lagging and catch up. Okay, there we go. So you have two solutions that you're going to be finding. One is equal to the positive 7, one is equal to the negative 7, and then we need to continue to solve for x. So in both cases, we can subtract 3. You get x equals 4. On the right side, subtract 3 also. Get x equals negative 10. And now we have our two answers. Do you guys have any questions? Okay. Doesn't sound like it. So I'm going to enter this into Delta Math. All right. Next problem. I'm going to do another example of this because I think completing the square is a complicated topic for people. So we're going to do another example of this. So we have x squared plus 15 equals 8x. And so what we want to make sure is the x squared and the x term are together. So right now they're being separated on two sides of the equal sign. So what we want to do is bring the 8x over so that it can be right next to the x squared. So to bring it over, minus 8x minus 8x, you get x squared minus 8x plus 15 equals 0. Okay. And then once again, we're only going to be looking at this section right now, the x squared minus 8x. So you ask yourself, what is half of negative 8? Well, then you could think negative 4. Where did I get that negative 8 from? Right here. And then you think to yourself, negative 4 squared, what is that? And then you think, oh yes, that's 16. So that's what we're going to be adding on both sides. So we have x squared minus 8x plus 16. And then plus 15 equals 0 plus 16. So we add that 16 on both sides. Do you guys have any questions? Okay, we're going to continue. All right, so we're going to rewrite this section, x squared minus 8x plus 16. Let's rewrite that. That will become x minus 4 squared. Now you might wonder, where did this minus 4 come from? This minus 4 comes from, what is half of negative 8? We said half of negative 8 was negative 4. So then x squared minus 8 is plus 16. The green underlined portion becomes x minus 4 squared. And then we still have our plus 15 equals 16. Do you guys have questions up till here? Okay, so I'm gonna zoom out, oops. Well, I need to like still be able to see that. Okay, let's write over here. I'm just gonna copy it again. Okay, so in order to get x by itself, we need to bring the 15 over. So subtract 15, so they get rid of each other. You have x minus 4 squared equals 1. Now we square root both sides, and you get x minus 4 equals positive or negative 1. Square root of 1 is positive or negative 1 when you're solving for an equation. So you can have your two solutions, x minus 4 equals positive 1, or x minus 4 equals negative 1. I'm going to wait for my computer to catch up. And also, if you guys have any questions, okay, so then we're going to add 4, cancel out, x equals 5. Here you add 4, cancel out, x equals 3. So our answers are 5 and 3. So I'm going to go type that in. 5 and 3. All right. Let's do another one, but this time we're going to do completing the square mixed with a is greater than 1.